All right, welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is BIT.TRIP RERUNNER. I suppose first thing to mention, the footage you are seeing here is of the original BIT.TRIP runner, not RERUNNER. Mainly due to really couldn't align to give Petty a copy of this game, what with his eye problems that he's only just now getting over.
Mm-hmm.
But this'll suffice for our purposes here, especially since BIT.TRIP RERUNNER. Right, so where to start with this? I suppose I can answer that by addressing what could be a misconstruement of what this is. Because it's called BIT.TRIP RERUNNER. You're probably thinking this is a remake of the original BIT.TRIP runner here.
It's certainly named in a way that would suggest that.
But it's not really it's not really or rather, I suppose it does contain a remake of the first BIT.TRIP runner game, as in some of the subset of levels here is from the original BIT.TRIP runner, but it's not BIT.TRIP runner necessarily. It's more than that. I'd say the closest actual comparison to what this is Super Mario Maker. Because this game had a bit of a name change upon release. It's called BIT.TRIP RERUNNER now, but its original name in pre-release was BIT.TRIP Runner plus Runner Maker, and that actually is. It's more of a mouthful, oh no doubt, but that's more of a tip of the hand of what this game actually is.
So it has a level editor?
Yes, it does. But it's also not a straight remake either.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's kind of something in between, or at least at this stage. Because once again, it does things in the style of BIT.TRIP Runner, BIT.TRIP Runner 2, absurdly long title that I'm not going to name here, and Runner 3. Trying to remember where I read it, but right now, those are just the aesthetics. Runner 2 and Runner 3 had additions that aren't in this game yet.
I see.
I'm trying to remember. I read somewhere. I think it was on the Steam news panel or something where it said that this game was launching with Runner 1 mechanics only. But that's not accurate either, because this game is also adding 2 new gameplay mechanics inspired by other BIT.TRIP games. Hang on, let me.
Because there have been those.
Yes. For whatever reason, the BIT.TRIP Runner has become the flagship of the BIT.TRIP series.
For those of you playing at home, there have been other games, not BIT.TRIP games, that are not BIT.TRIP Runner.
Yeah. Trying to. Yeah.
Easy
Here
to
we
have
go.
missed.
Yeah. But yeah. So what's new in this game are the blast, which is when you shoot a laser beam out from Commander Video's visor, and that shoots at nearby things. And then that's from BIT.TRIP Core, and the absorb mechanic from BIT.TRIP Void, which turns you into the void, and that allows you to. This allows you to take care of new mechanics that are added to this game as well. The destroying nearby rocks and the black beats.
So it's no longer a single button endless runner.
It was never a single button endless runner. Okay, honestly, that's one of my problem. That's always been one of my problem with the BIT.TRIP Runner series. Like, it's more complicated than your average endless runner. Like, oh no, you got to do a lot of stuff, or there's a risk reward factor. I'm trying to remember all the mechanics here, because there are a lot.
I just
unlocked apparently a slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's jump, there's slide. Yeah.
I vaguely remember a laser blaster.
There's slide.
Yeah, there's the force field that comes later that blocks the green blocks. There's the dance, which gives you more score. And then in later runner games, there are other mechanics, or a big thing about Runner 3, for example, was how dynamic, for lack of a better term, the stages were. It wasn't this flat. It's not this flat in Runner 2, or especially Runner 3. That's something that this game gets back to. Because I know, the Runner fanatics weren't especially keen on the flying camera angle of Runner 3. Now, I believe in the original... Yeah, and that's the other thing about the BIT.TRIP Runner series here that I have personally never liked. It's when you done goofed, you... Oh, that's right. It's the glide feature. You have to hold down the button when you jump, and you'll go over a longer period. Anyway, when you hit something, you go back to either to the beginning of the stage or to a checkpoint.
And the checkpoints don't look marked?
No, they do. They do.
I haven't got to a long enough one to have a checkpoint.
Yeah. Yeah. And BIT.TRIP RERUNNER kind of looks like this, but more futuristic, let's say. And that's tied to the fact that RERUNNER is in Unreal Engine 5. I think Runner 2 was in Unity, and Runner 3. I'm trying to remember if the WiiWare ones were Unity or their own custom engine.
I think they were their own custom engine. I don't think the Wii could use Unity.
Yeah. And there are the other BIT.TRIP games. Yeah. Kick, that's what I was trying to remember. Like I said, there's a lot of mechanics even in the first BIT.TRIP runner game. Far more than you get in a endless runner. Once again, it has its fans. I've been lukewarm on it at best because there's actually a lot to remember. Maybe not here and now. And it's further coupled by the fact that you see the obstacles here, they have to be dealt with by that particular mechanic. And maybe not so much in BIT.TRIP Runner here, but it's something that trips me up in RERUNNER with the UFOs. Because I tend to jump over them rather than slide. That's probably more of a me thing, but it is something that occurs because when you see that obstacle, you do have to deal with it appropriately. Also, there are the bonuses of the gold and the extra layers of rhythm. Let's say the plus things here. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, in the original runner here, they unlock the bonus stages, which are the which are the pitfall ones, for lack of a better term. That changes in RERUNNER. They do have the pitfall stages, but that's in a separate section that you have to unlock. And you unlock you unlock stuff by gathering gold in the stages. Now, what you unlock depends on the level. There's two kinds of unlockables: keys and stereos. For some, no, I know why they stereos. The keys are to unlock concept or fan art and various other production items. And the stereos, they unlock the soundtrack, which are basically bonus levels stacked to the soundtrack of BIT.TRIP Core, BIT.TRIP Void, Fates, Flux, what have you. And there's also bonus levels for BIT.TRIP Runner 1, 2, and 3. So there's a lot of content here. I think what I like my nutshell capsule review would be: this is the ultimate expression of BIT.TRIP Runner. It's BIT.TRIP Runner's greatest hits, combined with a bit of new stuff and potentially endless content, because it's also got the Runner Maker connected to it. And this is where the Super Mario Maker comparison is really apt, because you get a very robust and fairly accessible, maybe not as accessible as Super Mario Maker, but still pretty easy to use in comparison. You can make your own levels and share them online. I'll admit I didn't actually do that because I am just so not a user-generated content person. Like, I actively hate making levels and shit. Once again, that's a me thing. It's better that, objectively speaking, it's rather good that the Runner Maker exists and gives you a potentially unlimited amount of content with RERUNNER here. Now, as far as like full implementation of Runner 2 and Runner 3 mechanics, I don't know what's the status on that. Let's see. But also worth noting, this game, RERUNNER, has a difficulty selection, as opposed to previous runners where what you saw is what you had to deal with. You can adjust obstacle density to have higher or lower amount of it's basically a difficulty selector for the levels. Like I said, there is just a ton of stuff to this package here. Can I call it the definitive version of BIT.TRIP Runner? Not quite yet. It's at least the ultimate version of the original BIT.TRIP Runner. If you were more of a fan of Runner 2 and Runner 3, you might be given a bit of pause. Also, I suppose it might depend on how much you like the faux retro style of like BIT.TRIP Runner 1 here. Because BIT.TRIP RERUNNER completely ditches that. That's another mechanic I forgot. The springs.
Yeah.
Gotta hit up. Like I said, there's, for a faux endless runner, because this is not an endless runner. This is, it's
a bounded runner.
Yeah. It's in the style of an endless runner, but there's very much an end to this. Like I said, if you're a fan of the BIT.TRIP Runner series, you probably already bought this or pre-ordered this. But if you're on the fence, I'd say take the plunge. There is, more than enough to keep you occupied here. Personally, I was always I was a bigger fan of the likes of BIT.TRIP Void and BIT.TRIP Beat, more than Runner. But I couldn't tell you why exactly. Runner is the part of BIT.TRIP that they decided to turn into a franchise, but they did. I presume that this sold the most, or maybe they had more ideas for it. But what was once originally, hey, what if we remade the original BIT.TRIP Runner in Unreal as an Unreal 5 test? Once again, they turned it into the furthest extension of BIT.TRIP Runner that I can think of. Now in terms of the music, rather important, because this is a rhythm-based platformer. Like, all of the beats, they're actually an object on the screen. And Alex, did you fall asleep?
Not all the way.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up soon.
Was I snoring?
A bit, yeah.
Sorry. I'll mute myself. I mean, I'm awake now, but...
Right. Anyway. in terms of the soundtrack, it's got all the music from everything in the BIT.TRIP games. Now, I think the only thing you can't do is like create your own custom soundtracks in this, like either through like music generation or you would have the notations of the individual BIT.TRIP sounds in order to create new remixes or whatever. That's a bit beyond what this is offering, which is fine. Anyway, in terms of pricing, I'll admit the pricing surprised me on this, because it clocks in at $20 with a introductory offer of $15.99, and also attached here is the BIT.TRIP Runner Mega Bundle, which is only $36.80, so 60% off of 8 items. Yeah, I'm legitimately surprised that this game is being offered at $20, because I think this could have easily been $25 or $30 for the amount of stuff contained. Now, it is worth noting that right now this is PC only, and Choice Provisions hasn't mentioned anything about console versions yet. That I would estimate if there's a console version in the works, it'll hit sometime next year. That's usually how these things go. Like I said, my personal preference is I genuinely enjoyed the Endless Runner Muse Dash more that we covered this year. Or the Rhythm Runner, I guess is a more accurate way of describing this kind of bow Endless Runner. But like I said, if you're a fan of the BIT.TRIP series, or BIT.TRIP Runner, or what have you, and it's a very solidly constructed game with what I imagine is going to be just a wealth of user-generated content. Do not hesitate to take the plunge today. Right. So is there anything else that you wanted to ask on BIT.TRIP RERUNNER here?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I think you covered it. Yeah, there's enough if you don't want to use the stage builder.
Right.
To justify. Yeah, that was my main question that I came up with that I wasn't sure if I asked or not.
Definitely. Anyway, so yeah, that'll about do it for the Fragments Silicon reviews. Coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, September 27th, we'll be welcoming Josiah Colburn of Turning Wheel LLC. They are the creators of the game Barony, which you might remember we reviewed not too long ago. Let me see. We also do have the season finale of Moonhawk Studios Presents happening, so look for that. And we'll be on Friday, September 29th, we'll be having Josh of Stuffed Wombat Games. They're currently working on the game Mona Lisa. I'm not exactly sure what this is.
I assume they mean stuff like a plushie, but I can't help it, or at least like taxidermy, but I can't help but imagine a wombat that has just eaten way too much.
I mean, bring it up on Friday. If you're keen on doing that. And yeah, so until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.